Everybody lies about fuel economy, from the glossy marketing brochures right down to that highly optimistic digital trip computer glowing on your dashboard. But today we are ripping off the Band-Aid and finding out exactly what this machine drinks in the real world. You see, the government laboratory testing cycle is done in a climate-controlled room on a machine that looks like a giant treadmill, with no wind resistance, no hills, and certainly no angry traffic holding you up. But you and I drive in the messy, unpredictable real world, so I took both the 1.5-liter turbocharged gas model and the 2.0-liter hybrid version out for a rigorous, mixed-condition loop to see what happens when the rubber actually meets the road. Let us start with the traditional gas model, equipped with all-wheel drive. The official sticker will tell you to expect around 27 miles per gallon in the city and 32 on the highway. I filled the tank all the way to the top, right until the pump clicked off, reset the trip odometer to 0, and set off on a 100-mile loop consisting of gridlocked city streets, wide open interstate, and some twisty back roads just for good measure. I did not hypermile. I did not draft behind semi-trucks, and I kept the climate control set to a comfortable 72 degrees because nobody wants to sweat just to save a few drops of gas. When I pulled back into the station and did the actual math, dividing the miles driven by the gallons consumed, the gas model returned a solid 28.5 miles per gallon combined. On a pure highway stretch, cruising at a steady 70 miles per hour with the adaptive cruise control engaged, it actually crept up to 33 miles per gallon. That is genuinely impressive for a vehicle with the aerodynamic profile of a slightly rounded brick. Now, let us shift gears and talk about the hybrid powertrain, because that is where things get really interesting. The hybrid promises astronomical numbers, like 40 miles per gallon in the city. Hybrids thrive in stop-and-go traffic because the regenerative braking constantly feeds energy back into the high-voltage battery pack, allowing the electric motors to handle the heavy lifting of getting the heavy vehicle moving from a dead stop. In my heavy city traffic testing, the hybrid absolutely shined, returning an incredible 38.5 miles per gallon. However, here is the secret that no one tells you about hybrids on the highway. Once you pass 65 miles per hour, the electric motors tap out, and the gas engine has to do almost all the work to push through the wind resistance. On my dedicated highway loop, the hybrid dropped down to about 34 miles per gallon. Still excellent, but the gap between the standard turbo engine and the hybrid shrinks drastically at high speeds. If your daily commute is mostly long stretches of wide-open freeway, the premium you pay for the hybrid might take a very long time to pay for itself in fuel savings. But if you spend your life navigating suburban stop signs, school drop-off lines, and creeping rush-hour traffic, the hybrid is an absolute cheat code for your wallet. One crucial tip as a mechanic is that your fuel economy is directly tied to maintenance. If your tire pressure is down by even 5 or 6 pounds per square inch, your rolling resistance increases massively, and your efficiency tanks. Keep those tires inflated to the specification listed on the driver's side door jamb, not the maximum pressure stamped on the tire sidewall. Also, that little green Econ button on your dash. It dulls the throttle response and alters the air conditioning compressor cycle. It works, but if you have a heavy right foot, you will just end up pressing the pedal harder to get the same acceleration, entirely defeating the purpose. Smooth, steady inputs are the real secret to squeezing every last mile out of a gallon. Let me add a quick note about cold weather operation, because temperature plays a massive role in how much fuel your engine consumes. Internal combustion engines are inherently inefficient when they are cold, and they run a richer fuel mixture until they reach optimal operating temperature. If you take a lot of short, 2 or 3 mile trips in the dead of winter, do not be shocked if your combined average plummets down into the low 20s. This is completely normal and not a sign that your engine is failing. The hybrid is also susceptible to cold weather drops because the computer will force the gasoline engine to run constantly just to generate enough heat to keep the cabin warm and to bring the catalytic converter up to its required temperature. I always recommend combining your errands into one longer trip rather than taking multiple short drives, as this allows the powertrain to stay warm and operate at peak efficiency. Also, skip the prolonged morning warm-ups in your driveway. Modern fuel-injected engines do not need 5 minutes of idling to get ready. 30 seconds of idling to let the oil circulate is plenty, and driving the car gently is actually the fastest and most efficient way to bring it up to operating temperature. If you combine these driving habits with a strict adherence to the factory maintenance schedule, including regular air filter replacements, and using the correct viscosity synthetic oil, your crossover will consistently reward you with numbers that are remarkably close to what the manufacturer promised.